First, I would like to thank you for having us here and giving us this opportunity to do this talk. I'm Janica Deborah Gajo, an undergraduate from the University of the Philippines, Diliman, and I am here with Sir Emmanuel Maminta. He is a PhD student also from the University of the Philippines, Diliman. Today, we will be presenting our paper, Sari Sandbox, a virtual retail store environment for embodied AI agents. So these days, a photorealistic simulation environment is practically a requirement for embodied AI. Why? Because it is far more cost effective. So, for example, if you want to scale up a virtual environment, it will be cheaper compared to trying to scale up a physical space. It also eliminates the risk of damage that may arise during training, since if you make a mistake or if something goes wrong, you can just reset the environment with a few clicks. And thanks to our current technology, we can simulate realistic interaction and physics, giving us accurate and reliable evaluations. Now let's look at the currently existing simulation environments. We have Habitat, AI Tutor, and Matterport. So they are some of the most popular simulators today, but they focus more on domestic and household environments or general manipulation. Some commercial retailers like Lowe's and Kroger also built digital twins of their physical locations from real-life locations using NVIDIA Omniverse. These digital twins, however, are mainly designed to assist store associates with their tasks like inventory management. So we notice a gap there. There is no simulation environment specifically tailored for retail operation needs such as dynamic shelf management or inventory stocking. This brings us to Sari Sandbox. Sari Sandbox is a high-fidelity photorealistic 3D retail simulation environment built specifically for benchmarking embodied agents against human performance in shopping-related tasks. So, what approach did we take to create this environment? First, this environment has 250 interactive grocery items. We modeled all of those items from products that we found in our local convenience stores. These products are rigid bodies as of the moment. So, like if you interact with them in the environment, they won't deform. Like if you try to squeeze a box, it won't deform for now. And the environment also includes 3 store configurations, a working self-checkout system, dynamic product labels, and an API-controlled avatar. All of these are unified into a whole using the Unity game engine. So as you can see, we have 3 layouts, which were designed after surveying real local convenience stores. We figured out what are the usual layouts that these convenience stores have and applied those. On the lower left, you will see our self-checkout system. So it works like a real touchscreen device. It also includes a working barcode scanner that requires the correct product orientation to scan like you would in real life. The box in the lower right features our dynamic labeling system. So you can see on the left side, it's the expiration dates. It updates. It also takes into account the current date. So if you open the environment, you won't suddenly find all of the products are expired. And then on the right side is the shelf price tags, which automatically updates depending on which products were randomly generated on the shelves. For optimization, we implemented techniques such as using box colliders for physics calculations and level of detail rendering. We also use frustum and occlusion culling for optimization. We also have this agent. So the agent can be controlled using our Python-based API, which communicates through a WebSocket server. The API includes 3 main types of functions. So first is the agent actions, which is for controlling the agent itself and the hands. So there's the translation and the rotation. Please note that these take a 3D vector. So for translation, you would tell it how much you want it to move in the X, Y, and Z axis. And then for the rotation, you would tell it the pitch, yaw, and roll. The second are grip controls. So this is vital for interacting and grabbing objects. We also added a poke function to make it easier to interact with the self-checkout. And last, we have the functions that manipulates and requests information from the environment. So in addition to the Sari Sandbox environment, our team also created Sari Bench. It is a dataset of annotated human demonstrations which can serve as a baseline for agent testing. We have created three categorization for tasks according to the difficulty and the skills involved. So for example, here we have the easy difficulty. It involves perception, navigation, and manipulation. For example, if you want the agent to find and pick up a box of cereal, it would need the perception to see what's in front of it. It would need navigation to go to where it needs to go, and then manipulation to actually grab that box of cereal. For average difficulty, it still needs perception, navigation, and manipulation, but there's an additional requirement for memory and task execution. So an example, you wanted to find and pick up a box of cereal and scan it at the checkout. And then for the difficult task, we added decision making and comprehension. So find and pick up boxes of cereal from two different brands and scan the cheaper one at the checkout. In this case, the agent would need to understand that it needs to read the prices of the two different brands of cereal and then pick the cheaper one to scan at the checkout. The environment also supports virtual reality for human interaction and data collection. So we use this to create the SARI bench dataset. With the tasks clearly categorized, we recorded videos of human participants doing those tasks, and we currently have around 100 videos. And these videos are paired with data such as the participant's global position and rotation, the grip states, and the item interaction, which is basically are they near an object or are they grabbing an object. Next, Sir Emmanuel will be explaining our embodied agent architecture as well as our experimental results and analysis.
Thanks, Janica, for discussing the environment. Now let's move on to the embodied agent architecture. Now the main focus here is to show the proof of solvability. And so for this research, we built a simple embodied agent just to show that the SARI Sandbox API can actually what the SARI Sandbox API can actually do in practice. And at its core, the agent runs on vision language models or VLMs. And more specifically, we use the Gemini 2.5 Pro and Gemini 2.5 Flash because these were the best models then. And so the agent's control loop is based on the React Reason plus Act pattern, but we had to modify it. Instead of generating a single action at a time, the agent produces short action sequences. And that small change matters a lot because even simple tasks like checking multiple shelves involve several tightly connected steps. And so when we package those steps together, this reduces the cognitive overhead that we put on the vision language model. We also had to deal with the fact that VLM based agents don't really have memory. So we built a lightweight memory system around the model based on the four components: the procedural, the working memory, semantic, and episodic memory. So your procedural memory would be the system instructions that you give to the VLMs. The semantic memory would be the ground truths or the facts about the different store layouts. Like for instance, say all the snacks are placed in shelf X and all the uh, drinks are placed in shelf Y. The episodic memory, on the other hand, updates itself by synthesizing reflections from previous interactions or previous actions. And so these memory cues help the model plan more reliably inside the environment. So as you can see here, you have a multimodal input to the VLM, and you have two different main modules here. You have the associative learner that handles the associative learning and also the planner that handles the planning. So the associative learner, we used a Gemini 2.5 Flash, while for the planner, we use the Gemini 2.5 Pro. The associative learner at the first time step receives the task or the text as the text input, and then the screenshot as the visual input, as well as the hand and body coordinates. Now, once it receives those inputs, the associative learner will consult with the semantic and episodic memory. We devised the semantic and episodic memory as a simple text file following the cache augmented generation or CAG framework. In other words, all the information is stored in the context window of the Gemini 2.5 Flash. Now, once the associative learner retrieves the important or salient information from this memory, it will generate the MNC cues, or mode cue and context cue. The mode cue basically signals the planner in which mode the agent is current in. So there are three modes again. You have navigation, perception, and manipulation. And so this makes it a lot easier for the planner to choose which of the possible actions it can execute. The context cue helps lessen the information overload, uh, because already gives sort of like hints or cues for the planner. Like for instance, we are in the first time step. The most probable mode would be in navigation, and therefore you need to move forward perhaps 10 times. Once that this information is passed to the planner uses a high effort reasoning. That's why we use the Gemini 2.5 Pro, and then it will output or generate a structured output requiring the actions and times. So we have a predefined set of actions for navigation. We have predefined set of actions for manipulation, as well as the perception. So the planner also has access to tools, and the tools that we devised are the basic ones. Like for reading the text labels, the product labels, we have OCR, the Paddle OCR. For getting the depth estimation, we have the depth anything B2, and for checking if the product of interest exists in the screenshot, then we would use the object detection capability of Gemini 2.5 Flash. Now, once the planner generates the structured output, it passes this to the sandbox, where the sandbox hosts or where the environment is deployed, and then it parses the structured output, and then everything is executed in the environment. If you're the observer, you would actually see this happening in real time. And then lastly, before it proceeds to the next time step, the associative learner must generate a feedback. It must synthesize this, synthesize or get a notable or remarkable observations, and then store this to the episodic memory so that it can be used in the future time steps. Right. So for the experimental results and performance analysis, first is we want to check the texture fidelity, right? Because for shopping tasks, reading labels is very important. And the agent, for example, there are tasks where the agent needs to pick out ingredients. It needs to check the expiration dates. It needs to check whether this product has a lot of sugar. So we ran a texture fidelity test on to the visual assets, which are pasted on the different product units in the environment. And we used Paddle OCR for this one. And it actually performed quite well on structured or straightforward labels. However, we noticed that there's a slight degradation in its performance when you have rotated text. So what we did is uh, for rotated text, we added a mechanism for the agent uh, to deal with awkward text angles. It could rotate the products just so the Paddle OCR could capture the rotated texts. Next is the performance disparity of a human and agent. So when we compared humans to our embodied agent on the easy tasks across all three layouts, so you have easy for layout one, easy layout two, and so on. The difference was actually striking, because humans were consistently faster, of course, and more reliable. And in many cases, the agent took up to 16 times longer than a human to finish the same task. The highest success rate that the agent achieved was almost 70%, and the lowest was at least 30%. In contrast, humans were able to reach 100% on all tasks. A good example here is easy task in layout one, where humans averaged 47 seconds, while the agent took roughly about 780 seconds. So even at the simplest difficulty level, there's a clear performance gap that shows how challenging embodied reasoning can be when it runs on general purpose vision language models. So this is an example of a comparison of how a human accomplishes a task and how an agent accomplishes a task. For instance, this is picking up a pack of a snack, a local snack here in Southeast Asia. It's a Wishy prawn crackers. So let's dive deeper into the next slide. So this is how the agent loop looks like. So at the beginning, it first it receives the task, the screenshot, and also the body and hand coordinates, and then the associative learner will consult with the semantic and episodic memory to generate the context cues and mode cues. And once these are generated, it is passed to the planner. The planner uses a high effort reasoning level, and then it will generate a structured output to pass it to the server. And then the server does parses the sequences of action, it executes it, and then it goes back to the first step. And just before the start of the next time step, the associative learner will generate a synthesis or a summary of what happened from the previous time step to store it to the episodic memory. Now, I forgot to mention that in this step, the associative learner has the ability to remove or modify the episodic memory or modify the semantic memory as well. So, if the associative learner thinks that the task is solved or completed, then it will trigger the stop command or the exit command. And so we didn't only manage to compare the performance of human and agent in those tasks, but we also wanted to analyze the human thought processes, uh, human thought processes as agent models. So this is to guide better agent design. We studied the think aloud protocols, as what we call it, from human participants and turned them into various flowcharts. And what stands out is how naturally humans integrate reasoning with movement. So for easy tasks, the pattern is quite simple but effective. Because humans reason about where the item should be, they move toward that location and then evaluate what's in front of them. And it has a tight loop rather that repeats smoothly until that item is found. Now, as we go as we move towards to the right to more complex tasks, the flowcharts show richer behavior as humans reassess when they're uncertain, they retry different strategies and draw on earlier observations when needed. So they also try to bundle related steps, like for example, scanning multiple shelves in one sweep without overthinking each action. So and these flowcharts give us a blueprint for building hybrid agent architectures that combine long horizon or long-term planning with quick reactive adjustments, much closer to what people naturally do. And so, for instance, in the difficult tasks, here we can see there's a lot of verification steps that is involved in order for humans to just accomplish a difficult task. So those are the things that we took note of. And to wrap up the Sari Sandbox research, Sari Sandbox offers a high fidelity environment designed specifically for embodied AI in retail settings. And it brings together photorealistic rendering, more than 250 interactive products, and three distinct store layouts. And alongside the environment, we also provide API that exposes the avatar control, hand interactions, and data access. So agents can navigate, manipulate objects, and gather sensory information. And also we created it so that any researcher can design their own tools. So it is a tool inclusive environment. And the Sari Bench dataset, this contains the full task trajectories accomplished by humans, a set of 100 tasks of recorded videos of human accomplishing the various tasks. And lastly is the observation that the React framework is a good starting point for embodied agent tasks. However, any derivations from the React framework can be improved through co-designing think aloud protocols. So for our future work, we focus on the environment as well as the agent. So as for the environment, we want it to have a stable 60 frames per second on mid-range desktop hardware, As for realism, as Janica mentioned earlier, we wanted to have realistic objects, deformable objects, and more accurate mesh colliders. As for the environment, by updating store layout designs, introducing other product types, and also enhancing the API for having a granular hand manipulation and camera panning. For the agent side, we wish to explore different RAG techniques instead of cache augmented generation, as well as the embodied agent design. This is the most important because our agent was not able to solve average and difficult tasks. So the next milestone here is for the agent to average 100% on easy tasks, while greater than 90% for average and greater than 80% on difficult tasks. And lastly is the VLM and context engineering. Admittedly, we used proprietary models, Gemini 2.5 Pro, but in the future work, we are open to investigating open source models as well, as long as these models should be tested if they have emergent advanced navigation, perception, and spatial reasoning or manipulation capabilities. So that's it. Thank you to everyone who joined in to this Zoom session. Again, the SARI Sandbox is a fully open source project, so the community can build on it, reproduce our experiments, and contribute new ideas. The environment code is available on GitHub, and we welcome collaborations from researchers working on embodied AI, robotics, or multimodal systems. If you're interested in contributing, building agents, or using the environment for your own research, please feel free to reach out to us. Thank you.